Going to the cash management. So the main functionality with regard to cash management is creating a bank branches and bank accounts, which we have already completed. And if you remember, before we proceeded with this, we have even completed the system options also. I'll just again quickly go through those system options, and then we'll go to creating of the bank statement and then reconciliation. So as you know, like in any module, we got something called options. Like in AR, we got system options, AP, we got financial options, payable options. Similarly, in the cash management also, we got system options. So cash management is at a legal entity level. Reliance Textiles. So we are using Reliance Cotton Extraction operating unit for the cash management, but the setups are at a legal entity level. So you need to do only one setup for both the operating units under this legal entity. So Reliance Textiles is our legal entity. So hence in the drop down also you can see the legal entity as Reliance Textiles. And begin date is the date from which you want to start using this particular cash management module. So I have mentioned 1st of August 2017 because we have even in our ledger also our first open period is 1st of August 2017. We did not have any transaction prior to August. So I had mentioned the begin date as 1st of August 2017. And some of the reconciliation controls. So some of those things are whether you want these are actually used during your automatic reconciliation. So whether you want to see even the void payments also in your reconciliation process, you can say no. Whether you want to see cleared payments and whether you want to add lines to the imported statements. So if you import a statement from your bank, ideally you should uncheck this particular checkbox because you do not want to again edit or add new lines to the imported bank statement. But if you are creating a manual bank statement, that is different story. But this particular checkbox has a significance of adding or updating lines to the statement which is imported from the bank. So if you check the checkbox, system will allow you to import the update the lines to the imported bank statement. And archive or purge, this is basically used if you are importing the bank statement lines from a bank. As you know that whenever the data is coming from the legacy system into Oracle, it goes through something called your interface table. So if you check this particular checkbox, system will allow you to purge those statement lines which are already processed. Once you check the checkbox, you need to run a program. There is some other program we need to run which is called bank statement purge program. It will allow you to purge those lines. This is only just for the purging. It do not have any other significance. And signing
purge from
yeah,
purge from interface table or
purge from only interface table. Obviously, you do not want to purge it from the bank statements. It's only from the interface table. And that too, when you run your purge program, first thing is you need to check this particular checkbox, and the second thing is run the program, and the program will purge only those lines which are processed. So purge is nothing but deleting of the processed lines from the interface table. And if you check this particular checkbox of archive, and if you do some kind of setups in the system with the help of your DBA, you can purge the records or delete the records from your interface table, and system will automatically move those lines to some other archive folder. I've never tried that, but you need to do some kind of setups at a server level so that system understand that where those purge lines needs to be moved.
okay, so I mean ideally it will be a file kind of, right, or a table separately.
I think it's
I
a
don't know.
I think it's a table. I don't remember exactly whether it's table or a folder, but I think it's a table. There are some. I mean, you need not create any custom table. There are predefined tables also there to store the purged data. It could be
Okay.
something like CE statement lines interface underscore archive or something like that.
Okay.
Okay. And there is something called signing authority approval. So it's basically just maintaining of the signing authority. As you know that in any organization there is something called checkbook signing authority. You can say that so and so person is authorized to sign checks for so and so amount. If it is more than so and so amount, it should be some other person. So if you want to store that particular details in cash management module, you can do that, and that is just only for storing purpose. It do not have any other functionality. So I can show you that. our bank account. So I had mentioned that like Arvind has got a limit of 1000 rupees and it is an approved status. So if you want, you can create a few more users here. Okay, it's not allowing. Okay. Anyways, you can put your cursor here and you can create few more records wherein you can store the approval limits of the person. So I can sign and checks for up to 1000 rupees. Maintain bank account signing authority. I think I went to view screen. So when I go to this particular screen, it is asking me to select the bank account for which you are assigning the signing authorities. So this is my bank account. So you can create a new record here and you can create the name of the person and his signing authority limit and the effective date. And if you, there is status called pending and approved. So if you go for pending approval, you can also use the workflows to approve that particular signing authorities. And in the system option, that is where it says like workflow enabled, manually controlled. If I say manually controlled, I should be able to enter the record and change the status to approved. If it's a workflow enabled, then you need to enable a workflow and then it goes to an approval process, and only somebody based on your workflow approval, whether it's a supervisor or somebody, once only he approves that the status of the particular record changes from pending approval to approved. And cash management, this is basically we will not be getting into these details. There is in the cash management, apart from the setup of the bank accounts and bank reconciliation, we got something called cash flow, bank cash flow, bank transfer, and in those cases these things are used. So bank transfer functionality in 11a we do not have this bank transfer functionality, but in R12 we got that particular bank transfer functionality. At a high level, bank transfer is you got two bank accounts. Okay, one is ICICI bank account and another one is say OBC bank account. Or within ICICI you got two different bank accounts. One is a savings account and another one is a checking account. If you want to move funds from one bank account to another bank account, then there is some setup you need to do, and you need to select a from bank account to bank account and save that. Once you do that particular setup, an accounting entry is created in the background to move the funds from one bank account to another bank account. So take an example. You got funds in ICICI bank account and you want to move the funds to OBC bank account. You got another bank account which is created in the system and you want to move the funds to OBC bank account. When you are moving funds from ICICI bank account to OBC bank account, you need to select from bank account to bank account, save it, and then system will generate this particular bank journal entry. OBC bank account will be debited for the amount whatever you have entered, and ICICI bank account will be credited. Again, most of the clients do not actually use this particular functionality because you need to do a couple of setups and you need to go to the particular screen and do this particular process just for system to generate this particular entry. You can very well pass this particular entry directly going to the GL. So even our current client, they do not use this particular functionality. In order to move funds from one bank account to another bank account, they directly go to the GL and pass this particular journal entry, debiting your OBC bank account and crediting your ICICI bank account. Okay. Okay. Now coming to the bank statements. Loading up the bank statement. There are two ways of loading up bank statement. One is loading up the bank statements through an automated process, okay, wherein you get a file from the bank in a particular format and then write a custom program to read the data from the particular file and load into the interface table and then run your uh, standard bank statement import program, which will import the data from your interface table into your base tables or into your cash management module. That is the one way of creating a bank statement. And other way is to manually create the bank statement. As we will not be able to test a first process, we will be going with the second option of creating the bank statement lines manually. And also, when you get a bank statement from a bank, you need to get it in a particular format. Oracle allows only two formats, BAI2 940. These are the, and I think there is one more format, I don't remember exactly, MT something. Okay, So these are the formats. These are the internationally recognized formats. Again, these are not Oracle specific formats. You go to your ICICI bank account in India, you can just say that I want my bank account statement in Swift 940 format. He'll be able to provide you. You go to say Bank of America in US, ask him to provide the bank statement in BA2 format. They'll be able to provide you the statement in the particular format because these are international standard. So Oracle can read the data only from these formats. Okay, if you get the data from these particular formats, straight away you can import the data into your custom table and then interface table, and then run your bank statement import program to import the data from your interface table. But if you get the data from in any other format other than these three formats, then you need to do some kind of a customization to read the data from the particular custom format, load the data into your interface table, and then again follow the same process running of the bank statement input program, which will import the data from your bank statement. Any questions here before we proceed with manual creation of bank statement?
No.
Okay. Go to navigation, bank statement, bank statements and reconciliation. Click on new. I am trying to create a new bank statement here. Okay. What is the account number against which you are actually loading the bank statement? Our account number is starting with this one 5043587796. So as soon as I enter the account number, account name, bank branch, everything got defaulted. The currency of the bank account, everything got defaulted. What is my statement date? So this is the statement which I received today, 7th of October 2017. And this is the GL date. Statement number, you can just say statement number is the number which is available on the statement. If you do not have any number, you can just use the naming convention or numbering convention of date underscore 1. Okay, you need not enter any details, directly click on lines. Okay, 1. So when you get a statement file from the bank, okay, there is something called transaction code mapping. I'll get into those details in a while, but for the time being, I am creating a manual statement, and in this particular statement, I have got couple of receipts and couple of payments. Receipt. We need to pick up at least one receipt which is created in AR with the corresponding receipt number. Okay, so what I will do is, so that we can use the cash management function, bank reconciliation functionality. Save this. Go to AR, pick up one receipt which we have created today. Okay, these are the couple of receipts. So I'll pick up, say, this particular receipt with 15,000 rupees. And I will also pick up one more receipt, maybe this one with 25,000 rupees. Okay, go to cash management, enter bank reconciliation statement, and don't click on new, click on find, because we have already created the header part. So we'll try to pick up that particular bank statement. Click on find. Okay, so this is the bank statement, where click on review, click on lines, receipt. What is my receipt number? And amount 15,000. I'll create one more receipt line. So in an ideal world, we should have got this particular bank statement from the banker, and we have loaded that particular bank statement, and then you should be able to see the lines. But okay, now as we are not able to load the bank statement, I am manually creating the bank statement. System gives us a functionality to manually create the bank statement as well. Okay, now save these two records. Here you can see the status is unreconciled. Okay, there are two ways of doing a reconciliation. One is you can manually click on available button and manually reconcile this, or you can run your automatic reconciliation program. Okay, let us try to do a manual reconciliation for one line, and another line we will go for automatic reconciliation. Okay, first line, put your cursor here, which is an unreconciled status. Click on available. So when you click on available, it is now trying to check in AR module with the receipt numbers of R1111. Click on find. Here it is not able to show any records. There is a reason for that. So manually I'm not able to reconcile. Automatic reconciliation also will not work. The reason being, we have created the receipts with remittance functionality. So that means in AR we should also do remittance. Unless and until you do a remittance, you will not be able to see those receipts here. If you have created your receipts with no remittance, if you remember, like in the receipt class definition, there is something called remittance method, and we have selected a remittance method of standard instead of no remittance. If the remittance method is standard, so that means I need to, apart from creating of the receipts, I need to do one more step of remitting of those receipt batch. When I say remitting, which is nothing but depositing of the checks in the bank, I need to do that particular process. Without doing that, I'll not be able to see those lines in the available status. Now go back to AR. So now we have two options. We'll try to do a remittance batch for the receipts which we are already created, and then we can go to the cash management, and then we can do a reconciliation. That's one option. Other option would be try to create a new receipts with a new receipt method where the remittance functionality is not used, and then create a bank statement lines for those receipts, and then you should be able to do a reconciliation. So we'll go with the first approach. Try to create the remittance for the receipts. Receipts, remittances. Okay, if you remember, in the receipt class we have mentioned this remittance method of standard, so it will show you only those receipt class wherein remittance is enabled. It is showing my receipt class because in the receipt class remittance method is enabled. I'll quickly go to that screen and show you that remittance method is standard. If you have used remittance method of no remittance, then we need not do this extra step. Okay, generally we go with the remittance method of no remittance for the cash receipts. For check receipts, we need to go for this remittance process. Okay, go back to this remittances, receipt class. Okay, and what is the bank account? ICICI Bank. What is the account number? That is my account number. And now click on auto create, approve format, submit one batch per format, say yes. Okay, now we are saying auto create, so that means now we are asking the system to automatically generate the remittance batch for all the receipts which we have created. Wait for this particular program to be completed. Once this particular program is completed, you can come back to this particular remittance batch, and then here you'll be able to see a button called receipts, and then under the particular receipts you will be able to see all the receipts which were picked up by this particular remittance batch. So this is the program which triggered this particular program. So ensure that both the parent as well as the child programs all are completed before we proceed further.
And Arvind, when we are, I mean, this is for the check type of receipts, right? If it is an EFT, this is not required also, right?
Exactly.
For
Even
EFT
for
also.
EFT also, it is not required because electronic funds transfer is electronically the funds are already transferred. So we should not be using this remittance method for that. So generally, you will have different receipt classes for each of these remittance what do you call scenarios. For cash, we'll have one kind of receipt class. For check, you will have a different receipt class. Appropriately, you should follow the naming convention that Reliance Cash, Reliance EFT, Reliance Check, something like that.
Okay.
So this particular step is nothing but physically depositing the checks in the bank. You are doing this particular step and physically depositing the checks in the bank. Okay, now that's completed. Now requery this batch F11, control F11. F11, copy the batch name, control F11. Okay, click on receipts. Here you can see it has picked up 7 receipts. So it has picked up all these receipts which were created today, and it has obviously picked up our 2 receipts R111, R111-2. Okay, now we can go to the cash management and we can do automatic reconciliation. And also there are again different accounting entries which are created in the background when it moves from one stage to other stage. As far as this receipt is concerned, you can see the status is remitted. Earlier the status was confirmation, so that's the first status, and then the status is remitted because now we have given it to the what do you call bank. Okay, now after the reconciliation is done, we'll come back to this particular screen and we'll see the status. So first status was confirmed. Once we have remitted, the status is remitted. Once the reconciliation is done, we'll come here and we'll check the status. Okay, now again query for the bank statement. So this is the one which we have created. Okay, now put your cursor here, click on available. Fine, now you are able to see that particular batch. Okay, you can just check this particular checkbox and directly click on reconcile button. Okay, I'll try to do that. Now that particular line got automatically reconciled. This is still unreconciled. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll run the bank statement automatic reconciliation program and let us see whether the particular program will reconcile this particular line. Okay, so it is always possible that some lines are in reconciled, some lines are unreconciled. So this reconciliation status is at a line level, not at the header level. Okay, and before I run the reconciliation process, can we also go back to now this particular receipt which is reconciled? Okay, now we have seen for this particular receipt the status was remitted earlier. Now the reconciliation is completed. Whether you do a manual reconciliation or automatic reconciliation, it is fine. Okay, as now the status is reconciled here, we'll go and check what is the status of that particular receipt in AR. See, now the status is cleared. So first status was confirmed, second status was remitted, third status was cleared. Cleared means bank reconciliation is cleared, or bank reconciliation is done as far as this particular receipt is concerned. If you check for the other line which is not yet reconciled, it is still in a remitted status. It is not yet cleared. And as I explained, like in my accounting entries, you will be able to see those things. Whenever it is moving from one stage to another stage, from the original status to remittance stage, from remittance stage to bank reconciliation stage, there are different accounting entries which are generated. So your ultimate cash account get debited only once it is finally cleared or it is reconciled with the bank statement. Till that, it will go into a different accounts, interim accounts.
And Arvind, I mean, if the receipt method is EFT, I mean, based on EFT, when you create the receipt, the state will be remitted directly, not confirmed and clear, right?
Exactly. I mean, like, so there you will not even able to see word remitted. It will be a different thing. I mean, in one way, yes, it's remitted. Yeah, you are right.
Okay.
Okay, now we'll run the bank. The automatic reconciliation process for that particular bank statement. Go to view, request, submit new request, and the name of the program is auto reconciliation. There are a couple of different. See, there is another program called bank statement import and auto reconciliation. We generally use this when you are importing as well as reconciliation in a single go. But now we do not want to import, like there is nothing to import now in our current scenario. So we'll run direct auto reconciliation. What is the bank branch name? What is our bank branch name? ICICI Dilshad Nagar. And what is our bank account number? And what is my statement number? So this is my statement, 7th of October. Okay. So as soon as this auto reconciliation is complete, it will give you, it will trigger auto reconciliation execution report. And in the execution report, we should be able to see the results, whether it's successful or failure. If it's a failure, what is the reason? Program ran successfully, no errors found. If there are exceptions, you will be able to see that, but there are no errors. Let us see if it is really reconciled. Yeah, there is no. Okay. Okay, still it is not reconciled. Okay, let us check manually whether it's picking. Okay, manually it is picking up, but it was not able to. So when manually it is picking up means ideally there is kind of no issues with the transactions. Okay, with this particular transaction, but automatically it is not picking up. Everything is fine. Manually we are able to do that. Let me go back to that particular program. Okay, so this particular program, there is no output. Let me check log file. Log file also do not have any information. Okay, now check this report. Output, program ran successfully, no errors. Okay, then check the output log file. Okay, log file also do not have error. It is pretty straightforward. We have one receipt and that we have entered the receipt number, and receipt number is available in AR, and we are even able to, when I click on available, it is showing up. So that means there is no issue here. Okay, hang on. This is one sec. I think I know the reason for that. Let me check. What is my legal entity? Reliance Textiles, right? control void. Okay, there is one checkbox which says that how do you want to do a reconciliation, whether you want to do reconciliation by individual transaction or by batch. Okay, we need to go to the bank account setup. Okay, this is what I was checking. Receivables matching order. In what way you want to match? By transaction or by batch? Go with the batch. First order by transaction. If it doesn't find by transaction, go by the batch. Let us try that way. Okay. Now we will try that. We can just copy that. All other details same. Okay. Again it says no errors. Let me search for the bank statement. Still not reconciled. So there are two ways. Either you can directly do a reconciliation at a line level, that is a receipt level, or you can go by the batch. If I go for batch, I am mentioning the 1007 is the, if you remember, 1007 is my remittance batch. So it is showing total 93,005. But so if I go and check in this particular options, let me double check one more thing. Multi-currency receipts, transactions. This is the reconciliation controls, general controls, doldrums, amount, cash flows, to reconciliation. So I think it is pretty straightforward. How do you want to do matching? First by transaction. If you do not find, then go by the batch. And we do not even need not to go for this. Okay. Extractions, receivable options. Okay, let me check one more last thing and then we'll proceed further. I can explain you the reason tomorrow on that. Let me check one more small thing. Anyways, I think that is the only checkbox which I can think of, but not sure why it's not working. Anyways, I'll also highlight this particular point. So in tomorrow's session, before I proceed with the fixed assets, I need to cover the chargeback invoice as well as the automatic reconciliation. Okay, the other item where we faced issue is the bank automatic reconciliation. So I found the reason for that. Let me first unreconcile this, and then I'll explain you what was the reason. This was the reason. So yesterday I had explained you like whenever there is a bank statement, you can do upload of the bank statement in two ways. One is manually uploading of the bank statement, or like manually entering of the bank statement, or automatic upload of the bank statement from the bank. Okay, so as far as the manual entering of the bank statement is concerned, it is pretty straightforward. You can come to this particular screen and enter all the details. Okay, and when you do a manual reconciliation also, when you click on available, you'll be able to see that particular record. Okay, and you can do a manual reconciliation. The reason why automatic reconciliation did not work yesterday is there is something called transaction codes which we should define, and yesterday we missed out to do that. I'll show you that particular screen. Setup, it should be under bank transaction codes. So when you open that particular bank transaction code, it is asking you to first select your bank account. So our bank account was starting with 5. So this is our bank account, right? ICICI underscore current. Okay, so as soon as you enter what do you call, you select your bank account, it is asking you to enter some kind of a transaction code. So what is a transaction code? Generally, when you get a bank statement from a bank, they do not say, they do not really say that whether it's a cash deposit, check deposit, or AP payment, or something like that. What they do is instead of mentioning whether it's a cash deposit or a check deposit or AP payment, what they do is in the transaction statement, if you look at the transaction statement, there is something called code there. Say code 100 is 15,000. Okay, in the description they can just say check. Code 100 is 20,000. In the description they can just say cash. Code 101 minus say what do you call, minus 14,000. You and in the description they can just say check issue, something like that. Okay, but and when you load this particular statement exactly in the same way into our Oracle, how does the system understand that check means it is actually check, or cash means it is actually kind of AR receipt, and check issued is nothing but AP payment? How does system understands? System understands them using this particular transaction code mapping. So in the transaction code mapping, you need to say if the code is 100, then the type is receipt. And as soon as you select the type as a receipt, the transaction source will be AR receipt. So you are telling to the system that the source for this particular transaction in our system will be AR receipts. Similarly, put your cursor here 101 and select say type as say payment. As soon as you select type as payment, here you can see transaction source as AP payments. Okay, and save this. Okay, so if the transaction in the bank statement, whenever you get a bank statement from a bank with a transaction code of 100, okay, what will happen is if you go to the bank statement, once the bank statement is loaded, here you will be able to see the code of 100 and automatically the type is selected as 100. And if the code is 101, once the bank statement is loaded, the type will be automatically selected as payment. So take an example, say 101. Okay, type will be automatically selected as payment, and you need to enter the payment details. So yesterday what we have done is we have not entered the code. So if you have not entered the code, when automatic reconciliation program is running, it is not able to understand whether this particular 15,000 is really a receipt or a payment. Even though we have selected a type as receipt, it is not understanding whether it's really a receipt or a payment. So now from this particular code, it will go back to your transaction code, and in the transaction code, it can see the source as AR receipts. So that's where now your bank reconciliation program is going and checking for the corresponding receipts in AR, and then matching this particular matching that receipt with this particular statement line and changing the status to reconcile. Okay. As I said yesterday, I will not be able to test or I will not be able to show records for the payments. The reason being, under cotton extraction, what do you call the operating unit, whatever we are using now. Where is that structure? Okay, Reliance cotton extraction. I think we did not do AP. We have done AP under Reliance Postpaid. So as part of your practice exercise, you can create a bank statement under Reliance Postpaid for a payments, and then you can do a testing for the payment. Okay, but it's the same process. Okay, now we will try to run the automatic reconciliation process and see whether system is going to reconcile this particular receipt. So in order to avoid confusion, what I have did yesterday is I had created a fresh receipt, and the receipt number is 1234567. I had remitted that and then created this particular bank statement. Okay, now we'll try to run the bank's automatic reconciliation process.
And Arvind, is there any setup where we can say the transaction code is not mandatory? I mean, why I'm asking is because if you go to the line screen here, the code is not a mandatory field, right? It's an optional field only.
Okay,
and
so
even
yeah, so I mean,
yeah,
from a standard functionality perspective, it's an optional field. So what you do is, like, if it's an optional field, then I mean, if you really want it as a mandatory, then you need to go for a form personalization. But I'll explain you the reason why it's optional. Okay, take an example. There's a client who is loading the bank statements manually. They are not getting a bank. They are not getting bank statements from the bank. So obviously, in those scenarios, there is no requirement for the code. And as they are getting a bank statements manually, okay, and if they are not using a codes, they can very well go for the manual reconciliation. Okay, take another client who is getting the bank statements from a bank. In those cases, they need to definitely use the transaction codes. So it's like you are using the same screen for two scenarios. I mean, you can do a manual loading or you can load automatically the bank statement. So in one, it's like kind of optionally required. Like in some cases it is required, in some cases it's not required. So that's the reason why it is made as an optional. But if you have got a client requirement wherein you always get a bank statement from a bank, then you can make this particular field as mandatory. Okay. So now go to view, request, submit new request, auto reconciliation, first program. What is our bank branch name? ICICI Dilshuk Nagar. Bank account number, statement number. So 8th October is the statement number which I had created. Okay, it's completed. Let us check if there are any errors. There are no errors. Now go back to enter reconcile bank statements. Put your cursor here, click on review, click on lines. You can see the status is reconciled. Okay, so this is how you perform your automatic reconciliation. So the issue yesterday, whatever we have faced is the transaction code was missing. So when you run your bank reconciliation statement, similarly, if there are many other lines, depending on the source, depending on the transaction codes, it is going to perform the automatic reconciliation. But as I said yesterday, 100% of the lines may not be reconciled because of various practical issues. In most of the cases, either your data is not correct in the system, or in the bank statement there could be a missing information. If there is a missing information, then obviously your system will not be able to do a reconciliation. So there could be some scenarios that in the bank statement the receipt number may not be available. Okay, so you just got the statement line amount, but the receipt number is not available. So obviously in those cases it is not available. You need to manually click on available and search for all the available receipts and do a manual reconciliation. So that's the one scenario. And in some scenarios, apart from the receipt number, there could be a scenarios wherein instead of providing the receipt number in the bank statement, there could be details of the customer name and invoice number. So even in those cases, system will be able to do a reconciliation. So what your Oracle documentation says is, first it will search for the lines with a receipt number. If this information is not available, then it will go and search for the common. I mean, for the agent is nothing but your customer name, and invoice is nothing but your invoice number. So with this particular amount of 15,000, with this particular date, and with what do you call customer name of, say in our case ABC Textiles, and invoice number and so and so, if there is a record created in your AR, okay, against, I mean, if there is any receipt created in AR against those details, then that particular line will be matched automatically. It's the same case even in AP also. Your in AP also, if this particular number is nothing but your payment number, or your electronic funds transfer number, or the check number of the check whatever you have issued. If there is a number, system will try to match with that. If there is no number, then system is going to try to check with the agent in that particular scenario will be supplier, and invoice number will be a AP invoice. Okay.